2023. I played a lot of games this year, I watched a lot of TV, anime, not a lot of films, and I did some other random stuff too, so let's talk about them in no particular order. Also, not all of these things necessarily came out this year, but I experienced this year, so, you know, deal with it. If there was a genre of game that I would not expect to be on this list for this year, it would be a card game. The card game I am of course talking about is that of Daniel Mullins' Inscription, released in 2021. Now, the last time I played a deck building card game as much as Inscription was way back on the Game Boy Advance with Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition. But with Inscription there is far more than just the card game mechanics itself, and largely it was its incredibly compelling and downright bonkers narrative. It takes you to more places than you ever could have believed at when you started the game. The sound design is brilliant, it's got great voice acting, and more lore to unpack than I'd care to mention, as I literally gave up with my script for that particular video. Amazing game, 10 out of 10, go play it. Now, this is a bit of an odd one, you might guess, but this year, through inspiration from Daryl Talks Games, who I discovered on the psychology behind a backlog of video games, and, you know, if it's even worth attempting to complete it, and it's really not, by the way. But what I gained from those videos and his experience of it was that I should write down my own backlog, for nothing else other than to get that list of games out of my mind. And once I did, I found it like really cathartic doing that, tracking the game length and the progress of each game that I've played. That alone gave me like a sense of accomplishment in itself, as well as an understanding that I will never complete all of these games, at least not anytime soon. Even with my new Steam Deck, which I love and has helped me play more games, it doesn't mean I have any intention of playing close to the 100 games that are on my backlog, unless, you know, it's long term. So in short, make a list, but don't set a deadline, as you'll stop enjoying the games that you want to play through. The spreadsheet on its own did actually make me play more games than usual though, but I'll touch on that with another thing on this list. The Steam Deck is a great piece of kit. It has so much open functionality. The emulation is just very straightforward and easy when you're just following a YouTube tutorial. Take it from me. Aside from some of the control mapping issues that I've had with it, it's great. And yeah, I couldn't recommend the Steam Deck for someone that maybe doesn't play PC games that much but wants to, and just, you know, maybe doesn't want the desktop and all that sort of stuff. Get a Steam Deck. Honestly, great piece of kit. Couldn't recommend it more. I'd say we're in a bit of a golden era of video game adaptations. Maybe that's a bit too much. Maybe we're rather in a more hit than miss scenario. I think it is great to see that there are more video game adaptations coming, because I think on its own it's slowly sort of reducing that mainstream stigma around video games to an extent. I think it will always be there, which is a shame, but I think the more and more it pushes itself mainstream, sort of the less that video game stigma sort of really hits. But in any case, you know, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of ways that they could have messed up this show, The Last of Us, and got it very wrong. Only I don't think I believed that they would get this show so right. It was done, I thought, so beautifully well. I don't think there was anything missing from it that left me disappointed. I thought Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey obviously were fantastic. I thought the Bill episode that was apparently controversial, beautiful. It was so beautiful. I just thought they nailed the tone in every episode just so well, and I cannot wait for season 2. Easily one of the best shows this year. Okay, so this was a bit tough, and if this was a decision on what my favourite anime that dropped in 2023 would be, I, like most people, I think would have chosen JJK. like, that was just, and is still, just so beautiful and visceral and kind of horrible to watch at times, but brilliant. And the characters are just so much more relatable than you see in a lot of other anime, even given everything that's going on. It's I love it. I feel like there's almost a relatable character for every single type of person in JJK. But we're not talking about JJK as good as it was. For me, I'm a sucker for long-running shonen, and I stumbled upon Black Clover this year, which I believe has been out for quite some time. And after the first episode, I just never looked back. I was just hooked. I loved it all. I'm not sure if it was Asta himself or the cleverly portrayed world building and how it, used the supposed believed history, like with the intro of the show, and then spun that on its head. If you've watched it, you know what I mean. It really blew my mind at times, and whilst he's not too dissimilar from other tropey MCs in shonen, something about Asta, I'm not sure what it is, I don't know if it's voice acting or what, it just feels different. But it's just like his selflessness and his drive to succeed, it just feels different from other pro tags like him. It fills me with inspiration. I love him. And now I obviously can't wait for the next season, which I'm hoping isn't the last, but something tells me that it might be. I hope I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments, weebs. This game was one of the few things on the list that actually dropped this year, hey, and as a lifelong Zelda fan, I wasn't disappointed with this quote-unquote overpriced DLC. That was far from the truth. Whilst the surface map was the same as Breath of the Wild, not drastically different in many ways, the discovery of the depths, a mirror image of the surface with so many deep dark secrets and creatures and places to explore, it was beautiful. It was a treat. Nintendo intentionally hid the depths. Oh my god, I can't say it. Depths from all of their marketing in Tears of the Kingdom. It baited all of the haters into thinking that all the game had were the Sky Islands and the same surface map. And don't get me wrong, the Sky Islands were certainly not very exciting. They were kind of bland and repetitive and just not that interesting to explore. But I have never played a game, Breath of the Wild included, where I got distracted from a set mission like this game. It was almost just bizarre to the point that maybe I have ADHD, I'm not sure. It was almost frustrating in how something else, whether it was a new mini-boss, a side quest, just a resource, or just a location, like a freaking cave or something, I would just almost always, every single time, divert my course. And this course diversion is something from as simple as, right, I need to farm meat for rupees so I can buy stuff to upgrade my armor. Oh, there's a shrine. Oh, there's a cave. Oh, there's this guy I can give blue peas to. Oh, there's a Gleeok I've not for it. It just goes on and on and on. And you might be thinking that this is a negative of the game. But, you would be so wrong. I have never enjoyed dicking around and almost aimlessly doing anything that wasn't pre-planned when I loaded the game up. This is not like me as well, by the way, just as a type of gamer that I am. Also, considering something people tended to attack Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom about is its less than linear story. And whilst I made a similar complaint for Breath of the Wild when I finished that game, strangely enough I didn't feel this way about Tears of the Kingdom, even though it was the same blueprint and template that they did for both games. I don't know, maybe I just got used to the new Zelda format. Maybe I'm a staunch defender of any and all Zelda games. If you say anything bad about any of them, screw you, dude. But perhaps it was the fact that during my playthrough, I stumbled onto a main quest line that took me completely by surprise. I won't go into specifics, spoilers and that, but safe to say, I was all ready for my assault on Ganondorf for the end game. I was done. We're nearing December. I was ready to end this game. but decided to do, you know, a quick exploration around areas of the map that I hadn't really explored much. Thank God the hero's path is a function of the Pura pad, man. Jesus, that thing was fantastic for that. And thinking about it, like a lot, like I've really tried to think, but bear in mind I have a terrible memory, I'm not sure if I've ever played a game where I've accidentally entered into a main quest line. And it was such an unforgettable experience. Like, I genuinely can't think of any other time that would happen. I don't mean that there's two different ways you could go and you're looking for like the extra mushroom that you didn't find and you go, oh, I went into the main story bit. Oh damn, I was meant to find everything. Not like that. It wasn't like that. There was so much to it. For those of you that can understand, that have played it and know what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments if it happened to you as well, because I want to know. I want other people to relate to what I'm saying, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't played it, because I think that would be unfair. But yeah, it was just, I just ended up at that place just by exploring. It really made me feel like I was the player, and that sounds like a weird thing. It really made me feel like I was Link. That's a very weird thing to say. I don't quite know how to describe it, but if it happens to you, you'll kind of get what I mean. And that kind of won this game over for me. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on. Then just the last thing I have to just bring up is this game literally has the best ending to a Zelda game, without a doubt. I will take no other comments. You know, Ocarina of Time will forever be my favourite game of all time. It still is. This still has a better ending than that. Oh my god. If you like Zelda and you just haven't played it, if you love the old stuff, play Tears of the Kingdom. For the love of Christ, play Tears of the Kingdom. Now, ever since The Haunting of Hill House appeared on Netflix, I have enjoyed each and every one of Mike Flanagan's horror pieces, with Bly Manor being like the least interesting in my opinion, and Hill House still being the best. I'm impressed and surprised at the rate in which the shows in his horrorverse are dropping, and the quality of each one. Up here is my ranking of each one, and bearing in mind recency bias might be kicking in on the House of Usher and the Midnight Club, but I was just so impressed with the creativity and how you never quite know exactly what is going on, or rather why, until sort of much later in the series. Like, it keeps you guessing, and the scares, whilst never like properly like over the top, are genuinely creepy. And whilst a lot of them are jump scares, don't get me wrong, especially in the Midnight Club, there was one episode where there was just a ton of jump scares from this young girl. It was just, that was just like Five Nights at Freddy's. But the horror scenes and the build up to those jump scares is what makes them 10 times better, except in that one episode that I just referenced. Anyways, watch House of Usher if for nothing else than to watch uber rich capitalist arseholes get their karmic payback. Like, for that alone it's worth the watch, trust me. Yes, 2022's Game of the Year is arguably my favourite thing about 2023. Not just for the fact that it is a groundbreaking, phenomenal, awe-inspiring, mesmerising, game-changing work of art, and something I never could have predicted for me personally that I would play. So you have to understand, as a dad of a 1-year-old in my early 30s, I have very few hours in the day in which to actually play games, let alone create content for this channel. I work full time, I have a house to maintain, you know. You have to go out and live, spend time with family and friends, my wife. I read a book every now and then, which I'm really trying to do for next year. But basically, I don't have the time I used to have. And if you are a millennial like me, then maybe you'll understand this. So lo and behold, I look at my Steam Wrapped last week, and I have over 200 hours in one game. That game, of course, being Elden Ring. Due to my lifestyle time constraints, I found open world games less appealing to play over the recent years, and I found myself playing more and more handheld Switch games more than anything. Well, at the end of last year, after Elden Ring had won Game of the Year, I decided, as someone who hasn't played a Souls game before, that just based on the reviews and hearing everyone gush about how brilliant this game was, I had to at least try it. And so I knew going into this that if I was going to do this game justice, I had to commit to playing it. Not give up early, get through any boring tutorials there might be, get through the stuck areas, and I said to myself, and this goes back to the backlog portion of this video and my games to complete spreadsheet that I have, that I wanted to beat Elden Ring by the end of the year. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't just try and rush through it or anything. I wanted to enjoy the experience to its fullest, and boy did I. Streaming it early on helped me, as I got regular tips from viewers and stuff, which helped me out a lot in trying to understand and get my bearings for this type of game. So I jumped into a strength build early on, which I thought made sense at the time as a newbie to FromSoft games. But once I got comfortable enough with the game, I got over the hurdle of beating my first Souls boss and exploring in this glorious map and all of the nooks, crannies and secrets the world had to offer, I made a drastic decision and I went to a faith build instead, almost purely for the meme of this channel's popular viewership from the pixel horror game Faith the Unholy Trinity. It turned out to be the best decision for my Elden Ring run as well though, as I got to use incantations which greatly mixed up my gameplay, and I enjoyed the game even more because of it. I won't get too much into my journey, as I was meant to do Elden Ring as sort of a separate video, but December kind of just really creeped up on me this year, but what can you do? It's just that there were so many moments in this game, whether in cutscenes, no cutscene, walking out on Lane Dell, exploring the crumbling Farum Azula, where, I'd had to just stop, put the controller down. Yes, I play with a controller. I had to put it to one side and just stand there and just admire these majestic locales. It was ridiculous. The game was so incredibly immersive, and these beautifully contrasting areas of the map were just something to admire. And I know you can see that in a lot of games. Like, games these days have such amazing graphics. A lot of times you can do that as well, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, something about Elden Ring, it just sort of resonated with me. And then you had all the lore to discover through the environmental storytelling and the odd NPC giving you a letter from here to there. I literally deep dived the entire lore of Elden Ring mid playthrough, as I just had to understand sort of like who the families were, like how everyone's related, how did George R.R. Martin help construct such an amazing history for this perfect game. It was also a game that pushed me, probably more than any game ever has, to not give up. Don't get me wrong, after the 8th death at the hands of the Godskin Apostle, I threw the controller and slowly backed up from my chair to quietly open my creaky door so I don't wake my son up in a fit of rage. But I never intended not to continue. I would always go back, and I've never been like that with a game. Honestly, if I thought a game was too much, I know my limits, and I would walk away. I'm a happy person. I will not continue to play something that makes me so unhappy. I'm not that stupid. And I still technically haven't beaten Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, as I couldn't beat the goddamn politician final boss guy. It's true, we cannot overthrow the system. I can't do it. I couldn't do it, and I accepted that, and I walked away from that game. But I think something inside me knew I almost owed it to the game. I almost owed it to Elden Ring to keep going back, as I was having so much fun, and I wanted to keep exploring, keep fighting, keep learning, keep dying, keep grinding, and keep leveling up my weapons until I could finally beat the final boss. I still haven't beat Melania just yet though. Thanks for watching.